Thanks for taking the time, my man. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, it's good. This is dogs. Just we're back from exercising my little comrades, and they're in bone country. They're just relaxing out here. Here, I'll show you.
Let's see.
Farouk,
There he is. Beautiful.
that's Besso. Farouk, come.
Damn.
Farouk, come say hi. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
Nice looking dogs. What breed is that
Yeah.
again?
Doberman.
Doberman. I love that type of dog.
Yeah, they're fun. They're just super crazy smart. You know,
Right.
like there's a gate, and I'm just like over, and they just jump over it. It's
Right
fun.
over it.
Now you're always 15. You know what I mean?
Right.
Boys are boys. I'm like, let's get two dogs that can jump things.
Seriously, we'll train them to do crazy shit. Stunt dogs.
Yeah, yeah. Are you back in Edmonton?
Yeah, I'm back here in Edmonton, freezing my ass off.
I was assuming. Yeah, yeah. It's the only place I almost froze to death.
Seriously, you were telling me a little bit about that. I don't know if people know that story.
Yeah, I was at Comic Strip, which is one of my favorite comedy clubs in the world. And Edmonton is just so cool. You guys have everything under one roof. And I was out and about, but I would come from the condo they kept us at, and I would just have like my, shirt, my dress shirt, and I would just hang out in the mall and light coat. And I'm like, oh, I don't need a winter coat, but it was the dead of winter. And in my mind, I thought I knew a Canadian Edmonton winter, but obviously I had no clue because late night I tried to walk from the mall to the condos, got lost, and literally like a minute and a half in, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I just started jogging, and there was no one out. It was like 2 a.m. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And I ran and saw a hotel and just checked into the hotel for the night. And ironically found out the hotel was like less than 2 blocks from where we were staying.
Right.
But yeah. So
That's
yeah,
insane.
I mean, yeah, the comic strip has like 30 panic messages of me with 10 beers in me going, hey, I'm freezing to death. I'm freezing to death.
You're not gonna have a headliner this weekend, damn it. Where am I?
Yeah.
That's
So
hilarious.
yeah, I love that place though. And the town, the actual town that is not far from the mall that's really hip and cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool here. That's something I realized coming back, having spent some time over in Vegas. I was like, what we have White Avenue, which is sort of a cool spot, and we have a couple things. But and for people who don't know, you and I
White
actually,
Avenue, that's it. That's really cool, that spot.
yeah, they have a few comedy clubs. Well, not comedy clubs, but they have bars that do comedy down there, and it's cool because people are starting their own shows.
Okay, cool. So the like local scene. I mean, I do remember that every time I ever worked there, the comics were very strong. And, I travel a ton. Canadian comics are always strong, but Edmond had a strong young comedy scene. Everybody was very good. Very
Absolutely.
good. So, yeah.
And
so
a lot of
cool.
those guys get out to, 2-3 spots a night because they're just jumping around like crazy, and especially in that area, they're so close together, that little circuit.
Right. That's the key. It's and right now here in Las Vegas, comedy's just exploding. This is one of the largest comedy scenes that has erupted since the 80s when comedy started in the States for us.
Wow.
So watching this and being lucky enough to be in Los Angeles in 2000, 2, 3, 4, 5 when it exploded at the Laugh Factory, like it did in the Comedy Store in in the 80s, and now it's back to the Comedy Store. The Comedy Store scene exploded. It's kind of settling down, and now Las Vegas, we have Jimmy Kimmel's, we've got Brad Garrett's, we've got the Laugh Factory, we've got L.A. Comedy Club, which I have a residency at the Strat, which is like the Comedy Store of Las Vegas. We've got the Cellar. We've got literally 30 open mics and probably 15 very good open mics. It's crazy how big comedy has gotten, probably due to social media.
Right.
Which the stage cures. They usually lady comedy handles that. People are like, I can do comedy, and then lady comedy comes in and goes swat. No, you can't.
That's true. You see that happen as well. It's funny. you talk about the boom in Vegas. I actually saw something on the news, and it was coming out of LA, talking about how there's even more music residencies than there has been in years in Vegas. What do you think that's due to? You mentioned social media. Do you feel like it's part of there being so many new venues now?
I think that, as far as an entertainer's mindset, I think that they understand now that taking 3 months, you're Lady Gaga, you're touring your face off, you're exhausted. You travel with, what does she travel with? 500 people? Who knows? But she can come to Vegas for 3 months and make 2 years of her crazy money that she probably makes by being in one location, catching her breath. Now, me, I'm one of the only non-celebrity residents in Las Vegas with an ongoing show. I'm heading into my third year. It's very, very, very rare. And I know for me, who's just me and my girl, and, I'm stationary. I go from home to my show and come back, as opposed to the last 15 years of my life where I traveled the world constantly and hardly knew where I was. I used to go at the airports. I would check a menu when I was really tired. I would check the menu to see what language it was, to see where I actually was.
Wow.
So those celebrity monsters, I think they're catching their breath and they're making that crazy money, as opposed to going, Japan, Singapore, New York, Chicago, LA, and then 2 years of their lives are gone and they don't remember it, But
Wow.
The Strip is ridiculous. It's one of the most visited places in the world. It's iconic from anywhere you are, whether you're in China or Alaska or Idaho or, Australia, Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. And it's really cool. We've got John Legend on the Strip, Lady Gaga, Cher. We've got Aerosmith. You've got guys at my level that are murdering it that a lot of people don't know about. Then they got this scene right below me of all these bands and music and rappers and dancers that are murdering it. So, and Vegas is affordable. It's very affordable.
Right. Especially compared to a place like California, which is so close.
Right. And I've done the chase. I started comedy in Boston. I lived in New England, in Portland, Maine, and I did New York. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to afford this when I'm not making money yet? Then I went to LA, and in Los Angeles and New York are showcase cities. So you audition to be in those clubs. Those aren't clubs that are throwing you money to work there. You're getting $50, $100 a spot if you're passed as a regular to work at the Comedy Magic Club, the Improv, the Store, the Laugh Factory. If you're lucky to get 1, 2, 3 spots, maybe 5 a week, then you get paid 2 weeks later and you're starving. So then you go out on the road and make your money. But in Vegas, you're in a big, beautiful home for, $1,200, and you can tour out of here and do spots around the city. So it's a good spot. They're saying it's going to be Hollywood East.
Right. I keep hearing that too, because of the development of the sports teams as well, right?
Raiders are about to go up. That place, I did the virtual walkthrough, and it straight up looks like sci-fi Rome.
Man.
It is incredible. And,
That's
now
insane.
that we have the Knights, the Golden Knights, the Knights game, and I was never a hockey dude. I'll tell you what, when you're in the desert and then you go into a sold-out Golden Knights game, it is mind-blowing. It's incredible. So with the Raiders and with the concerts we have here, I mean, my girl loves country. I'm now a George Strait fan. Who knew? It's, it's just an incredible place to catch everything under one roof. We have EDC. We have some of the best DJs in the world as residents here.
Yeah.
Baru came to say hi.
When's his residency?
His residency is guarding my residency.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, that's what I think part of the Vegas thing is. But in the past 6 years, it changed from, it changed where it used to be the shows were headliner, headliner, headliner. And now it's a little more accessible to an open comedian, an opener, or a feature, because they've sort of cut that budget out to pay your headliners or a resident headliner who they can maintain who, in my case, I'm very lucky. I do a new show every night. That's what's kind of holding my ground.
Mm-hmm.
But I also go to the gym, and I go to the comedy gym every night because I know young bucks like you are dying to chop my legs and take it, you know? So it's a healthy go to stage. But that's why there's also another big explosion in comedy, because it's not just headliners, all just solo headliners. It's a great place to look and develop, but you still have to do the road. You have to go get the road. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you talked about doing the road, like how you sometimes wouldn't even know where you were at, like because you were just constantly traveling. How do you keep yourself in performance shape when you're doing that? Because even me coming back from Vegas, like I caught a nasty ass cold, you know?
Yeah. You know, I had good runs and bad runs. I got a little at the tail end of my touring from China. I'm the first American stand-up to live and work in China. So I had a nice offer from Kung Fu Comedy where I was there for about 10 months. But that run caught me. A little too much alcohol. I was exhausted. I had anxiety from just traveling too much, getting used to the society. China itself, beautiful. The people, amazing. But you just get exhausted. You have to come off the road or prepare for the road by eating well, going to the gym, and remembering that your fun life is completely separate than your work life. And if you love what you do, like I do, it was best said by an old famous singer. You don't want to sin against your art. So the best bet is no real partying or alcohol. Eat well, sleep, go home after your sets, and then maybe celebrate once during the trip towards the end, but don't make it a part of everyday life. You can't make it like, oh, I have a couple of drinks, or I'll be out till 3 a.m. I'll be out till 3 at night. You can't do it and survive. Even when you're young like you, it catches you, and you'll have missed opportunity. So you got to do the gym, you got to eat well, or as I call it, climbing the hill. And climbing the hill is doing the things you don't really want to do to maintain what you love. So
right. That's
after a couple of failures.
Right. No, that's a great point, because people think, oh yeah, you're a comedian, it's all constant party, it's fun, but it's like, to be an entertainer, you have to have that full package, and it takes discipline that a lot of people wouldn't expect, I think.
Yeah, well, I know that they perceive us to be having fun in the life, which it is an amazing, incredible, fun life. But to maintain it, like we just said, you have to eat well, and you have to be really good. In my case, you have to write all the time. Maybe always drop an acting class into your life or an improv class into your life. I watch the people that I love, Chappelle. I mean, I'm lucky. In Vegas, Los Angeles, you get to see the murderers develop new material. Yeah. So, it's just, you're watching Chris Rock. I've gotten lucky where I watched Chris Rock prepare his new set at the store like a couple years back. And I was like, wow, this isn't funny. How's he doing this? And then all of a sudden he took what my amateur brain thought wasn't funny and went, abracadabra, bitch, I'm Chris Rock. You forgot. And then incredible lesson learned. I put it in the Rolodex. I was like, wow, he just worked it. He knew that was something good, and he listened to the audience, came back, and so that's a big thing, is writing and monitoring. For me, pick who you think is great, but in comedy you can't absorb too much either. I don't listen to too much of what other people are saying, so I don't subconsciously absorb it. I always try to write my own story.
Yeah, that can be an issue.
Yeah, it can be. In music, you see it a lot. It's acceptable a lot in rap, to take beats, run them underneath your words. And I understand they know their rules to their world, music and rap. I'll let them handle it. In comedy, that does not fly.
No, not at all.
It doesn't fly to and it's a small community. I could be in Vegas and hear someone do your set. You'd probably have 3 phone calls in 2 days. Hey, someone was just doing your, that thing you do with the dog. Hey, this guy's up here. He's like, ruff, 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 ruff. He's doing your shit, man. Yeah. So,
so word gets around quick.
It gets around very fast, especially with social media. I've seen guys just film somebody stealing something and just put it out. And then you're dead in the water pretty quick. But,
right. That's true. How much has it changed in terms of even booking shows? Because it must be so much easier now to sort of get an idea of what's available in the area.
Well, I'm very lucky because my level has kept me right above the changes that have hurt a lot of comedians that were maybe not national headliners or, traveling internationally. So right. Because social media, if a guy has 100,000 followers and he has 10 minutes of comedy and he's going to sell out Frank's Comedy Club, the odds of him getting booked before me are likely because he's going to sell out the club. The odds of him being brought back, not likely because he's going to eat it. People are going to be upset.
Right.
So I've continuously maintained my bookings because probably a lot of reasons, whatever. I'm lucky. I work hard and
consistent.
I'm consistent, but I'm also aware that at any minute I can eat it. With the fear of eating it keeps you humble and working, But back to your point, social media has been a plus, but it really has changed. It has convinced people they're funny because they put out a video and they've got 500,000 hits. But then when they get to stage in front of 3,000 fans, reality is about to bring some god-awful pain. And audience will go silent instantly. And I'm sure a lot of these people learn some serious lessons that it's not even their fault. The world's telling you you're great. And then you get up in front of a live audience. That's a totally different beast.
Right, because there's no fluff.
Yeah. Well, a video is easy to do. Oh, I tripped. Oh, it's just silliness. So, the pros love it and respect it, but the live stage where you see an artist sing, I saw Katy Perry do something on SNL. I'm not like a Katy Perry fan before this, but as an artist, I was like, oh my God, live on SNL, murdering it. Her voice impeccable, her dancers in place, and she's moving through them. Her breath is perfect. And I was like, oh my God, you're incredible. That takes years of practice and art, honing your art, and social media benefits her.
Yeah.
It benefits those that have it, but it also sort of steals money out of the pockets for a minute. But then those social media people who are truly just social media stars, they can't do what they haven't trained for, which is live performance. And that's that's longevity. That's longevity. If you really are an artist, you know what I mean?
It's true. If you have it to last in the long run.
Right. If you really want to be, a Johnny Cash or a Richard Pryor or whatever it is, you know what I mean? A Tupac. Right. Tupac. Imagine Tupac was just a social media dude, and then he went up on stage, and everybody was like, whoa, what happened?
Seriously.
You know what I mean?
Different levels to it.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, so it's also a plus. Social media is a plus for me because normally when you have a residency, you can't tour. But I tour. I just was in Australia. I'm in Atlantic City at the Hard Rock. But social media is like, oh, wow, their guy is touring and he's worldly. You know what I mean? So it raises you.
I like that a lot. And speaking of touring, you mentioned to me doing some USO stuff and performing for some troops. At what point did that come in for you?
I did Bob Hope's 100th birthday at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood, and I had just returned from a tour to Korea, which was a safe zone, not in theater, which is how they discuss going to war in theater.
Okay.
So I was just in Korea, but I got all of this military language, and I went up in front of all of these military people in Hollywood who were dressed to the nines, generals, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Army, and Bob Hope. and I did a thing called coining, where you pull out a coin, and I tapped the coin, and if you don't have your coin, you have to buy the other guy a drink.
Okay.
So I coined the audience. I said, coin up, bitches. And I tapped the mic, and the place went nuts. And people started putting beers and shots on my stage. And the other comics are like, what did he just do?
Right.
Well, I had a really good set, and a general approached me and said, do you really want to do more work? And I said, yes, I do. He sent me to Bosnia and Kosovo. 9/11 had occurred. I ended up very quickly in Afghanistan.
Wow.
One of the earlier tours to Afghanistan, and all around the world, Japan, Korea, like 3 times, Korea again like 3 times, Afghanistan 6 times, and Iraq twice.
That's insane.
So, yeah, but something I always wanted to do, and not having to go to war, but be in theater with them, most incredible audiences in the world. Granted, we don't know if we're going to make it through the show. So that's what makes you, they're like, wow, who's Butch Bradley? Who cares? He's here.
Yes.
But those shows were incredible. And it sort of made me realize how American I was, because I landed in Iraq. And I was like, my hands over my head, like, yo. And someone's like, yeah. And someone's like, dude, put your hands down. They're snipers. Like, stop.
Right.
Chill. We have to take a convoy. They're suicide bombers. And the reality over every tour educated me into the reality of war. And also that I was blessed to do it and bring back something for those that needed a little piece of home. So it's overall my favorite shows. I don't believe in war, but I am completely pro-soldier, and I'm aware that humans haven't evolved enough where we are still going to see war, and I'm going to stand by. And I perform for Canadians too as well. So I was in Kandahar by your favorite little coffee house. They took over our Dunkin' Donuts.
Tim Hortons?
Yep.
I feel terrible. Yes. I can't believe I have this.
Tim Hortons. Right there, took over the Dunkin' Donuts there, right at Kandahar. Anybody listening knows what I'm talking about. There's this little boardwalk area. And this will tell you God must love Tim Hortons coffee, because there was a rocket attack. A rocket landed, and there was a line at Tim Hortons in Kandahar. There was like 35 people for this coffee, and a rocket landed and went all the way along the ground almost to the Tim Hortons. It was a dud.
Oh,
and you know
God.
what? Almost everybody in line looked over, stayed in line. Yeah, it's a true famous story. So anyone that was there knows about that famous rocket. And everyone in line for Tim Hortons was like, "I'm not getting out of line. No, I want my coffee."
Yeah, especially now that we survived, we got to celebrate. I mean, goddamn.
Right. And coffee is a celebration in the Middle East. Yeah.
That's crazy. Man, I can't imagine being in a place like that where essentially everybody's on call. You guys are all there in support of your country. Is there any anxiety during that time?
As I went more and more and I had more knowledge of the actual, because, your brain is so Hollywood and movies and, and reality is so skewed for the people of countries like Canada and America and England. And we're so clueless to the reality of that it took a minute for the reality of what war is and the dangers and the stress that they follow, going to make a phone call, to get on the internet, to all of it, that the anxiety came later for me. And I started to, because we took rocket attacks all the time, and we would get picked up like twice a day, either by convoy or by Black Hawk, and we would fly out to the forward operating bases, land in crazy places, do a show. Hopefully it wasn't too crazy where they could get us back and get us home, because if they couldn't, we had to spend the night.
Wow.
And if you had to spend the night, there was a lot of craziness, and it just would hit you more and more. And I, in some very small way, I understand that those people who felt those rocket attacks, or the anxiety of just walking to the bathroom, which is like 2 blocks away, you know what I mean?
Right. Damn.
Pitch black with a little laser light, hoping, there's not a rocket attack while they're going to the bathroom or showering. The anxiety came throughout more tours. And, but I always pray, and I'm always like, if it's going to happen, I hope it happens quickly. And if it doesn't happen, I just pray that I, keep my head on to behave as brave as possible. So,
Right.
I was really safe. I mean, I was as protected by the best of Canada, by the best of America. I was surrounded by incredible people who wanted usually their bases to have a show. So people would travel to come get me and be like, you're coming to do a show. And I'd be like, oh shit, I got to drive 2 hours. What?
Damn.
And it was incredible though. So I loved all of them. So.
Wow. That's an incredible experience. And I mean, as you said, it's giving people a piece of home. So it's great that you get to do that.
Yeah, it's a true blessing. And it also helps me to relate to, fellow humans who probably wouldn't believe until I start to speak the lingo. Oh, I was there. I was in that forward operating base. I was where we lost Pat Tillman. I was up on those, right on the border of those mountains. And I was in Iraq. I swam in Saddam Hussein's pool with Ralphie May, an American comedian.
Really?
Like, was bizarre shit.
How did that go down?
Well, I was on a USO tour with Ralphie May and Bob Marley, and hey, off! My dog just tried to grab something, but they were at the entertainment palace for Saddam Hussein. All these generals had taken this palace, and they heard that in the Blackhawks there were comedians. So this general, literally, like out of a movie, pulled us down, said, "Land them right here now." They landed us, and we're like, it's 120 degrees. We're scared to death. I was like, what's going on? And they got us out, hit a cigar in his mouth, straight out of a movie, loaded us into these armored SUVs. And we're driving past these palaces along the moats. And we pulled up in front of his entertainment palace. The front door is made of bronze and gold. It's like 120 feet high. And this general and his bodyguard and like 5 other people taking notes. And I recognized him from CNN. So my brain's melting, right?
Okay.
And he's like, we're going to do a show here. You know what? We're going to have speakers, like as if AC/DC's playing. And he told his assistant, write this down. I want big speakers. I want speakers. Can you people perform on the steps of this palace? And we're like, just nodding. We don't even know what's happening. We're like, okay.
Like,
Yeah. Well, that night, when we went into the palace, some of the SF guys were like, hey, thanks for being here. We got a little treat to say thank you. And they walked us through the palace. We dropped our shit. We stayed in Saddam Hussein's daughter's bedroom. Bizarre, I know. They walk us to his bedroom. His bedroom's blown out. I looked right at it, where the hole through the ceiling was that came down and missed him because he was at the pool. But they brought us, and they were standing with weapons, and they go, so go ahead. And we're like, go ahead what? And they're like, it's our gift to you. Swim. Swim. We're the last thing we want to do is swim. We're terrified. We're hearing all sorts of explosions. And Ralphie May takes his clothes off and goes, come on, player, let's get in the fucking water. We jumped in and we swam, and and Ralphie May started laughing. I go, what are you laughing about now? And he goes, hey, player, you're swimming in my pee now. You're swimming in my pee. I was like, dear God. So that was it. And then that evening we performed in front of, if you Google Saddam Hussein's entertainment palace, there's a bridge right in front of it. And we performed in front of Canada, everyone, like 8,000 international troops, while like all hell was breaking loose in Baghdad and the surrounding area. But that was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. So, yeah,
wow.
It was cool.
When you started comedy, did you ever picture that it would end up at a place like that?
I was like really, and I say this, I'm a comedy romantic. I really wanted all of this. I really believed. I really loved it. I was scared to death to tell anyone until I was in my late 20s did I start. Because I had college, I had my job, I had my life. And I was like, this is what everyone told me to do. But I want to be a comedian. And I just thought, I better hurry up and do what I want to do. I could always easily get a job I don't like. With that said, I didn't imagine that a lot of the dreams that I had, like growing up and watching, Bob Hope and people who were performing for the troops and those old movies, that all of those dreams would come true. But they did. I believe that if you're on your path and you don't stop, because it is a marathon, we've heard that a million times.
Yep.
Life is a marathon. And that truly is it. And in this marathon, I only have one comedian friend, Dwayne Perkins. Great dude. Met him when I first was doing open mic. Smiled at me and he's like, "Man, we're doing it." I was like, "Why are you so happy?" I'm going to throw up. But he's the only guy here still since Boston, since Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston 17 years ago. He's the only dude that stayed in the marathon with me. And we to Hollywood, to New York, to the auditions, to the small, for the TV spots, for all of it. The whole way, as every level comes, you hope and pray, and it's been a billion blessings. But it doesn't totally shock me to have your dream happen if you're grinding for it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. If you're doing it, if you're really going, and you just don't stop, you can't stop. That's all there is to it. So,
that's true.
But yeah. So
well, that's a great
whatever.
Point. And in terms of grinding hard, like we say, we see you do it all the time. And you mentioned TV. You've done a pretty good variety of TV spots. What's that world like for you, and how does that compare for you in terms of that, or compared to something like a residency? What do you really prefer doing?
The residency is a blessing because it allowed me to be every time I'm on stage, I'm even getting better because I'm not as exhausted from the road.
Yeah.
So, but it's still TV movies. I just shot my special in June, and I had a lot of choices of where to do it. But I shared that with the LA Comedy Club because they were so cool to give me a shot.
Yeah.
So we shot it live in there. We mic'd the whole audience. So you get to see me run the crowd and do all my material. On a very quiet night in November a year ago, the director of Soul Surfer, Sean McNamara, he's directed over 100 movies. He was in the audience with a friend of mine who was an actor from American Sniper, who just said, "I want you to see this funny comedian." They were doing a documentary on Doyle Bronson. So I guess in a way, a famous poker player, the cowboy hat poker player, famous old school poker player, Doyle Bronson. So they were after their meeting. He said, "Let's go see my buddy Butch. This guy's funny." So I guess I owe this my 1 hour special to poker. They're in the audience. Nice. It was like 35 people, and you as a comedian, you're either like, "Oh fuck," or you're like, "I'm gonna have fun." And I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna have fun." Thank God I did, because as I'm coming off stage, I'm like, I saw them. I go, "Oh, that's industry. That's industry." I don't know who they are, but they got that look. They're industry. And afterward, they were just saying all these kind words to me. Production company, Brookwell McNamara, they have a deal with Lionsgate. And they're like, "We love you." And Sean almost said what you said. He looked right at me. It's like 6'2" Irish guy with big hair. And he goes, "What do you want to do with this career?" And I looked up at him. I go, "I want to be in movies and TV. I want to continue TV and movies. I love comedy." I was like, I'm going to. And he goes, okay. And the next day at 9 a.m., I was at Aria in a 3-hour Hollywood meeting. And then we shot the special. June editing has just finished about a week ago. Wow. I'm on the table between 3 major networks, and I'll hear it any minute. But that is the world. To be an actor, I did a movie with Steve Byrne, director, comedian Steve Byrne. He just got me into his movie a couple months ago called Opening Act with Vince Vaughn and Ken Jeong and a bunch of dudes from Crazy Asians. And I played a heckler in the movie, so I heckle someone in a packed room. Fun movie.
That must have been funny.
I've done about 10, 11 late night TV spots. That world is the icing. It's the cake. It's incredible. But everything I've ever gotten in my life has come from the live stage. So I'm happy where I am, but it's TV and movies for me, along with growing as a stand-up.
Man, that's so awesome, and I greatly appreciate you taking the time to share this insight with me, man. And congratulations too. I mean, sounds like things are going amazing. When can people expect the special? I know it's probably sort of you probably.
Guess in like 2020, because right now we're in front of the networks, and it's going to land somewhere. But just look for me on Instagram, Butch Bradley Comedy. Add me, please. I'm also doing a show called The Land of Giants. I'm interviewing some of the biggest UFC fighters in the world that are here in Vegas. I just interviewed DJ Ashba, who was the lead guitarist of Guns N' Roses,
Nice.
Pyromantics, and in Nikki Sixx's band. And I kind of like what you're doing, I'm focused on the Vegas Strip. So just all these people that make up that energy. So it's The Land of Giants. Or Butch Bradley Comedy on Instagram. And thank you for having me on your show. And when you get a chance, go down to Comic Strip and say, hey, Butch wants to come back.
Hell yeah.
He's got warmer. Tell them I have warmer clothing.
Absolutely, man. Definitely. And thanks
hey,
again.
And a salute to your dad because I know he has a tough job. And thanks for what he does. He's a great guy. It was a pleasure meeting him.
Hey, thanks so much. I'll let him know that, and definitely hope to connect with you next time I'm out in Vegas.
Sounds good. You got a spot when you come back, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Butch. Appreciate it. Take care.
All right. Cheers, brother.